Hey, Internet Bestie! There's a lot of misinformation out there about periods and information that over explains it in a really complex way. So, in this video, I'm going to explain exactly how your menstrual cycle works in the easiest, quickest way possible, along with break down the hormones that are involved in your period and share what is considered a normal, healthy cycle so that you can know once and for all. Let's dive in. So your period is basically your body's way of saying, hey bestie, you're not pregnant this month. And your menstrual cycle consists of 4 different phases. You have your follicular phase, you have your ovulatory phase, you have your luteal phase, and your menstrual phase. So your follicular phase starts right after your period ends. So during the follicular phase of your menstrual cycle, your ovaries begin to produce estrogen, which stimulate the growth of your follicles, which are basically fluid-filled sacs that contain immature eggs. And you can't see on this side of the model, but if I turn it around, you can see maybe back there. In any event, as the follicular phase continues, one of those follicles become the dominant follicle, and that's the one that continues to produce the estrogen. And now the surge of estrogen is what triggers the release of the luteinizing hormone, also known as LH, which causes ovulation to occur. Now, ovulation, of course, marks the start of the ovulatory phase. And in this phase is when the mature egg is released from the ovary and travels through the fallopian tube. And while the ovulation phase tends to last between 12 to 24 hours, you do not have just 12 to 24 hours to conceive. You have about a 5-day window leading up to ovulation for that. After ovulation, we have the luteal phase. So after ovulation, the ruptured follicle in the ovary forms the corpus luteum, which produces progesterone. And progesterone helps thicken the uterus lining in preparation for a fertilized egg to implant. And a healthy menstrual cycle has a luteal phase that is between 10 and 17 days. So if your luteal phase is between 10 to 17 days, it is what's considered normal. Now, if fertilization doesn't occur and the fertilized egg doesn't get the chance to implant in the thickened uterus lining, what happens then is the corpus luteum breaks down, progesterone levels drop, and menstruation begins. Remember when I said this? So your period is basically your body's way of saying, hey bestie, you're not pregnant this month. Yeah, that's what it all boils down to. And of course, once menstruation begins, you are in the menstrual cycle phase. So the day your period begins is actually cycle day 1 of your menstrual cycle. And because it's a cycle, the next thing that comes is the follicular phase, followed by ovulatory phase, followed by your luteal phase. And a normal menstrual cycle is no more than 7 days. And as you can likely tell already from what we've discussed, the hormones estrogen and progesterone play an important role in your menstrual cycle. Estrogen stimulates follicle growth and LH release, which triggers ovulation. Progesterone prepares the uterus lining for a potential pregnancy and helps maintain the pregnancy if fertilization occurs. Okay, so now with all of that out the way, we can begin talking about what makes a normal period. I mentioned what's a normal menstrual phase length, but a normal menstrual cycle length is between 21 and 35 days, which means if your menstrual cycle is shorter than 21 or longer than 35, it is outside of what's considered the normal range for a cycle. So from the start of your cycle, from your period, right through to the day before your period, again, that amount of days should be between 21 and 35 to be considered normal. Okay, now when it comes to flow, between 30 milliliters and 40 milliliters of blood loss each and every cycle is what's considered normal, and that amounts to 2 to 3 tablespoons each and every month. However, experts have recently begun saying that up to 80 milliliters or 6 tablespoons is also in the normal range. But I mean, who's down there measuring with the tablespoon, right? Let's talk about what this looks like in real terms. A regular pad or tampon has about 5 milliliter capacity, and a super tampon or super pad or maxi pad has between 10 and 12 milliliters. So that means we're looking at 6 to 16 regular pads or tampons, or 3 to 8 super tampons or pads, fully saturated each and every cycle. Or if you're a menstrual cup user, then you know how much capacity your menstrual cup can hold, and you just divide that by the 80 max. So for instance, our size 2, best period size 2 menstrual cup can hold 40 milliliters. So that means 2 of these completely full each and every cycle is what's the max to be considered in the normal range for flow. Now, this can come as a shock for many of you watching this video because many of us have heavier flows than what's considered normal, especially us in the Black community. And while super common, it's still not normal. And I touch on this along with some of the whys in a recent Get Ready With Me I did, and you can check that out here or here somewhere. I'll just link it up top. We tend to be pretty familiar with what the symptoms are when it comes to menstrual cycles, right? Like some of the popular ones are mood changes and menstrual cramps and bloating. But let's talk about what's normal with that. Now, when it comes to these, normal would be anything that doesn't create too much discomfort. If you're unable to walk, if you're in unbearable pain and you can't move, that is considered abnormal. And while it may be super common, it is not normal and deserves to be checked out. In fact, anything you think deserves to be checked out thrice. If absolutely anything doesn't feel right to you, or you have a funny feeling, something's just not sitting right in your gut about it, get it checked out by a professional. And if that professional isn't giving you the attention that you think this deserves, by all means, seek the opinion of another professional if you can. It's really important to find someone that's willing to listen to you and take your pain and your issues seriously. So now, with all of that in mind, abnormal cycles would include irregular or inconsistent cycles that fall outside of that 21 to 35 day range that we spoke about earlier, along with super heavy cycles that are above that 80 milliliters that we talked about, or a period that goes beyond that 7 days. Learned anything new? Found this helpful? Let me know by giving this video a like. It also helps others like you find and benefit from it. And if you love learning things about your body, periods, and period products, make sure you subscribe to this channel because I share videos like this each and every Saturday. My name is Gaynette Jones, founder and CEO of Best Periods. We'll chat next time. Bye-bye.